I genuinely never, and this includes the hunger strikes because it was different, never saw so many or met so many people or was approached by so many people. And what I found actually a bit endearing and reinforcing, but also odd initially when it happened, was people coming to me and expressing sympathy. You know, because normally you do that with a family member or a spouse or a partner. So I was also thinking to myself, and I said this to Richard, there's probably a couple of hundred of us, you know, less as time goes on, who can say, when you Bobby Sands, or when you Francis Hughes, or when you Joe McDonald, or Raymond McCresh, or any of the hunger strikers. There's thousands of people can say the new Martin McGuinness. Thousands of them, and really cherish the fact that they knew him. And it may have been a casual thing that he was there as a, you know, an education minister, or he was there as an MLA or an MP, or he was there as the first and deputy first minister. But also when I was walking along the funeral route, I kept seeing people, and I meant to say this during my remarks, who give Martin to bed. Just dozens of people who I knew, like going back over the last 40 years, who were standing there and who we knew in very hard times. And I suppose we're in an immensely magical moment in that we have come through the conflict. And I don't diminish for a second or minimize for a second the amount of suffering that people have endured, including those who were victims of the IRA, or the thousands of years that people spent in prison and separated from their families. And well, I don't minimise any of that. But now at least the whole thing can be moved forward, and it's what Martin was doing so well. Reach out, engage. You know, if I was asked what would I say to other Republicans, and whether you live in Cork or whether you live in Ballymena, reach out. Try to present yourself, treat people with respect, seize the moment in terms of persuading people that, and have confidence in the future, have confidence in the positions which we are espousing. You know, Martin always told the story about Ian Paisley. Ian Paisley, the first day they were in Stormont Castle, saying, we don't need an Englishman to rule us. And we don't. And there are obviously other unionists of the same mind, and we need to be persuading them. There's now an end to that notion of a perpetual unionist majority, and without going on for too long, the 6-county state was carved out. You know, it could have been a 9-county state, it could have been an 8-county state. They went for the region in which they thought they were guaranteed to have a majority forever and a day. And electorally, that has stopped. Now, they might win it back at another election, but you know, the game's up. There's also been a number of wonderful developments. You know, there's clearly a majority in Stormont for Acna-Gaeltacht. There's clearly a majority for a civic forum, for a Bill of Rights, for marriage equality, for equality of all kinds. And that's the change that we have seen, and that change is going to continue because people will have a sense of their own power in terms of all of this. What's happening on the island helps as well. You know, the fact that marriage equality was voted for in the southern state, then all of a sudden people who would never have thought about it in the northern state start to think about it and start to say, why not? And you know, what won it here was people standing by their brothers and their sisters and their friends, their chums who might have just happened to be gay. The same thing's happening in the north. The issue around the Irish language, you know, it has become bigger than the Irish language community, which, you know, is relatively small community, although a very invigorated and growing community. But if you gratuitously offend people and insult people, then that takes on its own dynamic, and the other issues, which are all about rights, whether it's a civic forum, whether it's the Bill of Rights, whether it's trying to tackle poverty, whether it's trying to make sure that a child who's born into a loyalist working class community, if he or she wants in time to become a doctor or a lawyer or a barrister or whatever they want to be, that we should be making sure that they have the ability to fulfill their potential in that. So there are more and more people coming around to that. Now, let's not be too starry-eyed. There's still bigotry there. There's still sectarianism there. There are still those who don't believe that anybody has any rights whatsoever. And that's, undeniably the case, but that's the same in every society. What you're seeing now in terms of this revolution for equality, what you're seeing now is a tipping point, because those who are right-wing and conservative or who may have fundamental religious beliefs are there in other communities, but they don't dictate the pace. And that's what's happening in the north. And what unionism, and I think unionism is at a crossroads. Now, it mightn't know it's at a crossroads. It may be too blinkered and too short-sighted to know that it's actually at a crossroads. And I spoke to quite a number of people who are unionists, and one of them said to me, they don't get it. They don't get what has happened. And they think that anything that they give, they have to get something back. And that's finished. This is what this person did to me. That's finished. So there's a bit of work to be done, and those of us who want a united Ireland, we want an end to partition, we want an agreed Ireland, we want a different type of society. We have to take that as a challenge, and notwithstanding the way unionism behaves at times, we need to treat them with respect, and we need to be able to, if you're going to carry a cross for Ireland, carry it with a smile. Go out there and try and engage and have a bit of confidence, and don't be annoyed by some of the most negative things. I remember. Well, first of all, there are developments in history which can't be planned for. None of us foresaw Brexit 3 years ago. I certainly didn't. What's happening in Scotland, even though that's the business of the Scottish people, will have a major impact on the durability and the continuation of the Union. Martin McGuinness' death, and people who weren't at the funeral have said to me around Minster House that it was such a wonderful send-off. So all of these things motivate you. So I would stress the opportunity that we have at this time, and it is fraught with dire consequences. Brexit shouldn't be seen as something that's good for Republicans. Brexit is bad for everybody who lives in this island, but it may bring some people to think that there's a different way of ordering their affairs, and we need to be there patiently and intelligently arguing and putting forward the other solution. Anybody in the party, whether it's very, very elderly people like Richard Macaulay, or whether it's a young whippersnapper just into Sinn Féin the other day, be the best activist you can. That's what you have to be, the best activist you can. And we all can't be as good as Don Doyle or Rita O'Hare, but be the best that we can. And it's the sum total of all of that effort that will move forward. The other thing is, there's this is my experience anyway, having come out of the conflict. I like to think there's a kindness around among that. There's a camaraderie. A lot of the outpourings of people's emotion in Derry at the funeral was gratitude, was respect, was love. A lot of it was just, and pride. So, that's different from you going to the funeral of some person that was shot dead by the British Army, or some person shot dead by anybody, where there's latent anger and raw emotion, and someone who was robbed of their life. There wasn't a Peter in sight. All day in Derry, the thing went remarkably peacefully and well, and the celebrating song, the singers that we had, the choir that we had, the pipers that we had, I think all of that adds to a more vibrant, a colour and a texture in our lives. And this is a stupid thing to say, Martin McGuinness would have enjoyed it immensely.